Hello, you're watching Keep Media News, and I'm your host, Emily Tullock. We have Erica Sonnabend, certified grief recovery specialist, certified meditation instructor, and founder of Sonnabend Grief Support. And she's here to discuss the mental impacts of grief, especially during the current COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Emily.
Absolutely. I feel like this is a very relevant topic right now. On a global scale, we are experiencing grief due to this 10-month-long pandemic, from job loss to loved ones dying of COVID to our normal lives and routines completely uprooted. So can you speak to the emotional impacts or emotional effects brought on by these sudden changes?
Definitely. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me, so that's making me feel good about doing the work that I do. So I'm happy that people are starting to talk and need to, for sure. We have to acknowledge that we've experienced a loss and that we are experiencing and feeling negative emotions associated with our loss. There's grief there and it's real. And oftentimes we wish it wasn't, So, and understanding that there are more than 40 reasons why we grieve. Grief isn't just limited to the death of a loved one. If there is a change or an end of a familiar pattern of behavior in your life, you can experience feelings of grief. And so that is really something people stop and go, oh, okay. And so, just that to keep in mind that we're all grievers. And it's so important to know that you should acknowledge how you feel and to reach out and talk to someone. And if there isn't someone that you feel that you can really talk with, to reach out for additional support. And it really is, grief really is about getting connected to yourself at the deepest level. And what strikes me is how remarkable it is that we're all grieving from the same root cause. This pandemic is affecting our entire world. So, it's really amplifying everyone's emotions. It's not that we didn't necessarily have these emotions in different ways before, but they're all coming to this huge crescendo and people are really overwhelmed. And it's like, where do I go? And this is also disorienting. And, so people are coming to me and really saying, I'm feeling all of this and I don't think I've ever felt this before. And what do I do with it? Where do I go? And unfortunately, a lot of the ways that we seek balance in our lives are no longer available to us in the ways that they were before. So we're also feeling that our day-to-day lives are not as in balance. And then now we have this pandemic that has just come instantly to us. And it's shocking. And there's just so much sadness and loss happening around the world. And we're all grieving. I mean, I've never known a time in my life when the whole world was grieving. So this is even new for someone like me who talks a lot about grief and loss. So I think that really the big thing is that people are feeling more and everything is heightened, and also some grief from their past really emerging during this uncertain time has been a common discussion.
If someone doesn't know they're grieving, what are the signs, and what happens if we don't deal with grief properly? What happens long-term, short-term?
I think the signs that are more commonplace are, people are withdrawing from the things that they used to love doing. They may be reluctant to talk about the loss that they've experienced, or only talk about it for a short time and kind of cut that conversation off, but know themselves that this is really something that's hurting them. And a lot of times I think we try to talk ourselves out of how we feel. We kind of get intellectual with kind of dismissing our grief and the feelings that come along with the losses we're experiencing. And we try to deal with our grief in our heads, but grief is really in our hearts. And we really need to get to that emotion and talk to someone and express what we're feeling and not leave that unresolved. So when we leave it unresolved, we start to struggle in ways through our current relationships start to struggle. And our physical health can suffer because the stress of keeping those emotions inside is really taking its toll. And so people can start to deal with different physical symptoms of it as well. And so they'll feel that they're stuck. A lot of people talk about feeling stuck and feeling unsatisfied in their lives, and kind of not able to express and connect to things that maybe always brought them joy before their loss, and they can't get back there. And so not being able to connect fully to joy.
What type of services do you offer at your business, Sonnabend Grief Support? And if there is someone in need of grief support, where can they find out more information?
In my practice, I offer individual and group support, grief support, and wellness for adults, either individually or in groups. And I also, as a certified grief recovery specialist, offer 7 to 8 week personal discovery workshops for people that really want to dig deep by utilizing the grief recovery method as just kind of a process for us to go through to connect to some of the emotions that we don't even know are there, to connect to our own personal loss history, and to also dig into some of the relationships and discover how grief is limiting us, and how we're holding ourselves back, and helping people to really open up and to discover their own path forward in their own lives so they can be as happy as possible. So anyone that wants to reach me, I am on Facebook. And so I'm under Erica Sonnabend, Grief Recovery Specialist is my Facebook page dedicated to topics of grief and loss and support. And I also have my own website, which is sonnabendgriefsupport.com. And certainly if anyone is experiencing any kind of feelings of being unsafe or in a dangerous situation, they should always seek immediate attention.
Well, Ms. Sonnabend, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for the important work that you are doing right now. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Emily.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For Cape Media News, I'm Emily Tullock.